Jambo ni sehemu mojawapo ambapo katika masuala ya kitalii haijatambulika sana, lakini hii leo umefahamu. Ni kilomita 1 kutoka makao makuu ya kaunti ya Baringo, the Rift Valley Hills Resort. Hapa ndipo penye mandhari ya kufurahisha wakati ambapo una uchovu kutoka kwa safari ndefu. Katika kaunti ya Baringo inapatikana katika sehemu hii. Uzuri wa nyumba si mlangoni, ingia ndani ujione. Karibu kwenye the Rift Valley Hills Resort. Mazingira yenye hewa safi, utulivu na pahali pa kubarizi ukiwa katika mji wa Kabarnet, Baringo County. Sehemu ya kwanza na muhimu kulingana na kanuni za afya zimefuatuliwa kwa kina, kando na kupokelewa vyema. Maeneo ya mlo yanavutia ukiwa na fursa ya kuchagua kula nje ama ndani. Ustadh wa mapishi ni ya kimataifa. Mtazamaji, hapa mikutano hufanyika. Tulivu sio? Basi kuna sehemu 6 maarufu conference room katika sehemu hii. Kuna nyumba 35 ya malazi yenye veranda inayokupisha kwenye uso wa msitu unaovutia wenye miti ya kiasili. Mazingira katika Rift Valley Hills Resort kunapokucha ama kunapotua, una fursa ya kufanya mazoezi yako papo hapo kwa raha zako. Nilipata fursa ya kukutana na meneja wa the Rift Valley Hills Resort kwa kinywaji tu. Thank you so much. Your hospitality is top notch. What is the secret?
The secret is customer focus. Once you focus on the customer and you give the customer the best, we try to train a lot of staff in the various facets of the hospitality, so that they give the customer the best. So the training, we train staff. We also employ trained employees who have experience in hospitality. That gives us an easy edge in modeling them to fit in the requirements of Rift Valley Hills Hotel. So most of our staff are trained in the hospitality industry, and then we train them well. So the main issue is you focus on the customer and you give the customer the best every time, always.
Yes. Yeah. You've talked about trained personnel working with you. Maybe what are the best cuisines that you have?
Yeah, we being more of a town hotel and the setup, we are dealing so much with the locals. Even though we have both international and local cuisines, but most the cuisine that we would sell to everybody who comes here, we have the trademark Marubaine soup. This is a herbal soup. It's so popular with us. Almost all guests would ask for it. And then we have the traditional, the Koryema goat, the famous Koryema goat.
Wow.
And we get it from Koryema area. We do it, we roast it. It is one of the best delicacies around, the Koryema goat. And then we also have the chicken kienyeji. We try to be more traditional, so we have the chicken kienyeji, which is done to a perfection.
Thank you. I had a taste of it and I'm telling you, it was exactly how you're explaining it. I've also seen that you provide mursik. Do you make it here or you source it from the locals?
We make it here. We have the special, the chef, we have the special guard that is made. So it is made here locally. We have the tree that makes the mursik is available within the compound. So we just make our mursik ourselves. We don't buy it outside.
Wow.
So that brings the taste of what we are.
Okay, mine is to say asante sana, umetukaribisha vizuri na tunashukuru tena zaidi. Na labda sasa hivi wakati ambapo kuna swala hili la janga la corona, imekuwaje? Idadi ya wageni imepungua, imeongezeka?
No, with the onset of corona virus, we temporarily closed on March 30th. And then when we saw it was stabilizing, we had to reopen in mid-May, after adhering to the various strict government protocols. And then for the safety of the staff, of our staff and our clients, we really stick to the safety protocols. As you've seen, from the gate we have the thermal guns, we have the sanitizer, we have the hand wash, right from the gate. And we have various notices. What do we do? Who is inadmissible? Who is admissible? So we adhere to the various.
Asante sana. Labda kiasi tu tueleze sasa hivi kulingana na vile mambo ilivyo. Labda umepunguza riba kidogo kwa asilimia fulani, umepunguza yale malipo ambayo yalikuwa nalipiwa hapa?
Our rates are very friendly. So we've maintained really, just maintained the rates that we've had because they are affordable according to our standards. So we've just maintained the rates that we.
Shukrani tena sana kwa muda wako na kuwa na sisi hapa. Tunasema asante.
Thank you so much. Karibuni.
Naam, umepata kujionea. La muhimu ni kwamba wewe utabarizi Baringo, the Rift Valley Hills Resort, sehemu ambapo kuna chumba ambacho kinakufaa wewe mwenyewe.
All right. Good evening and welcome to our weekly show, The Expert View. Tonight we are a bit late to start our show. We were about an hour late, and we wish to apologize to all the viewers for the delay. We had a technical hitch which we had informed you earlier, and maybe we can now that I think all our guests, or rather all my guests here, we are keeping the social distance as according to the protocols that are given by the national and the county government. So for now, we will put out, or rather remove our masks, then we can continue. Okay, so tonight is a conversation that is special to this county because we are looking at the budget that was approved yesterday by the County Assembly. And for those people who managed to watch on Baringo News, you must have noticed a number of things transpired, ranging from the county CEC in charge of finance, and that is treasury and economic planning. He didn't show up, and those are the kind of things that we would want to know. Why did that happen? And to help us to dive deeper into that, you notice that it is a COVID period. People are not allowed to meet, and people are not allowed to gather in any numbers that are beyond 15. So how was the public participation done? And that is why today we are discussing the role of the County Assembly in playing its oversight role. Walifanya vizuri, and how did they do it? And to help us dive into that topic quite well, we have CPA Koech, who is the CEO to the County Assembly of Baringo. And we also have Bwana Paul Masese, who is the Programs Manager at the Center for Enhancing Democracy and Good Governance. Quite a long name, said GG. So Paul Masese, karibu sana, and to you, Clerk CPA Koech, karibu sana. Yeah, so maybe I can give you a moment to each one of you to do a short introduction. Maybe I can start with you, Bwana Koech.
Thank you very much, SK Komen. Thank you for having us in this show to be able to expound and share about the budget making process, and specifically the role of the County Assembly of Baringo in this process. My name is CPA Richard Koech. I'm the clerk to Baringo County Assembly, also the CEO of the County Assembly Service Board. Thank you once again, SK Comment, for having us in this show.
Karibu. Paul Masese, you can take a minute or so to introduce yourself and maybe the organization that you work with.
Thank you so much, SK Comment and the Baringo News family. I think it's a great honor to have us here this evening to reflect on this very important topic and process, in my view. My name is Paul Masese. I work at the Center for Enhancing Democracy and Good Governance as the head of programs. The Center for Enhancing Democracy and Good Governance is a public benefits organization that is working mainly in the Rift Valley region. We are present in 7 counties, and as our name suggests, our core business is in promoting the democratic governance principles. I like telling people that we provide anchorage for Article 10 of the Constitution as read together with the other principles in democratic governance. Thank you so much.
Very well. So you notice that we have 2 experts here, the ZGG into and helping the county, or rather the residents of this county and other counties to participate in the budget making process. And of course, to my immediate right is CPA Koech, who is the CEO of the County Assembly. So you notice that our conversation will be well catered for. So maybe you have to, just to begin the conversation, before I go into the questions that we had set for tonight. When Koech, yesterday the budget was passed, and personally I was in the assembly. I could see, we noticed that maybe the report was quite detailed, and the chairman for Budget and Appropriations Committee, Bwana John Aengwo, who is the MCA for Saimo Kipsaraman, took about, say, 2 hours straight reading that budget before it was approved. Maybe you can give a highlight of how the budget was. Maybe the sectors, what sector was, most of the time they usually say the winner, the gain, the people who are gaining and those who are losing. Give a highlight, Bwana Koech.
Thank you. Thank you very much once again, Bwana Komen. Allow me to first and foremost appreciate the great work that you are doing for the people of Baringo through this platform. Yesterday, you got an opportunity to air the proceedings of the County Assembly live to many people in this county and even across the globe. This is commendable job, and I wish you well in this endeavor. And most importantly, I really pray that in the near future, you will be our first television station for Baringo.
Amen to that.
Thank you very much. As you have already said and correctly put, yesterday on the 30th of June 2020, the County Assembly of Baringo approved and actually enacted the appropriation bill into law. The Budget and Appropriation Committee, led by Honorable John Aengwo, the member for County Assembly of Saimo Kipsaraman, led the members and the rest of the committee in setting out and discussing the report of the Budget and Appropriation Committee. And indeed, the membership of the County Assembly and the Assembly at large unanimously approved the estimates for the year 2020-2021 financial year in accordance with the Public Finance Management Act of 2012. Section 129 of the PFM Act 2012 requires the County Assembly to actually approve the estimates and as well as enact the appropriation bill before the end of the month of June. Just to highlight a little bit on what exactly transpired, in this budget, the county government of Baringo got a budget approval of 6.176 billion, or 6,176 million and some thousands above it. This budget is going to be financed by an equitable share from the national government revenue, or revenue raised nationally, of 5.127 billion. It will also be financed by conditional allocations from national government revenue to a tune of 318 million. These are conditional allocations given to the county government of Baringo for certain purposes and for certain objectives. They have got certain conditions. And these are amounts that are coming from the national revenue. Besides that, this budget will also be financed by loans and grants from development partners to a tune of 434 million shillings, plus some thousands. Baringo County's own source revenue is at 296 million. So the total budget, as I already said, is at 6.176 billion. As just a summary, the personnel emoluments takes the lion's share of this budget at 3.4 billion shillings, representing about 55% of the entire budget.
55%.
About 55%. Another about 881 million will go to the operations of the county government. We normally call it operations and maintenance. These are costs and expenditure that are intended or that are used for running the government, running operations, fueling motor vehicles, buying medical supplies, and many other aspects of operations and maintenance. Of course, you will appreciate, those who know financial management, when you have development budget, you need monies that will run the engine of government and to deliver on services. 1.9 billion is going towards development expenditure, representing 31%. The operations and maintenance is about 16%. So when you look at those ratios, you'll realize that the biggest share of the resources go to personnel emoluments. And then, of course, the statutory requirement for development is 30%. So I can confidently say Baringo County government has achieved the threshold, the minimum requirement under PFM Act of 30%. So we are slightly 1% above the minimum. Operations and maintenance seems to be suffering a hit, or really is not getting the right attention. I think because, of course, personnel emoluments is taking the lion's share. In terms of sectors and departments, I'll just make an highlight of how these resources were shared out, especially on the highest spenders.
Yeah.
In recurrent expenditure, the Department of Health Services got a share of 1.6 billion. And obviously, you will note that about 1.5 billion of that amount goes to personnel emoluments, salaries and wages. The total of 1.8 billion accounts for 44% of the entire recurrent expenditure budget. County Assembly, which is also responsible for oversight and all the other mandate, got a share of 648 million shillings. That is inclusive of salaries and wages, which is about 400 million, and also operations and maintenance. The Department of Education, that share for County Assembly is 15%. So the County Assembly of Baringo is getting a share of about 15% of the recurrent expenditure for the entire County government. 316 million goes to education and technical training, representing 7% of the budget. Agriculture gets 257 million, representing 6% of that recurrent budget. Finance and economic planning gets about 268 million, 6%. Those are the top 5 spenders in recurrent expenditure. In development, the highest spender is roads, public works, and transport at 435 million shillings, representing 23%. This is inclusive of about 152 million from road maintenance levy fund. It is a conditional allocation that comes for maintenance of rural access roads.
Yeah.
Health department, 338 million, representing 18%. Agriculture, 395 million, representing 21%. And water and irrigation at 333 million, representing 18%. Those again are the 4 top spenders in development expenditure of Baringo County government. I didn't pick the bottom, but obviously there are certain institutions and entities whose spending is something negligible, of about 1%, and thereabout. So I want to confirm to you, when I comment, that this is the budget as approved by the County Assembly of Baringo, and the process now rolls out to the County Executive, specifically His Excellency the Governor, to put an assent to the appropriation bill, which was enacted yesterday. Thank you.
That was quite comprehensive, and looking at the figures here, I also have a document that is reflecting exactly what you are reading, and maybe I will still come back to that. And you just said that it is now upon the county executive, led by the governor, to assent this bill that the county assembly, or rather to assent the budget that the assembly has approved as of yesterday. Now, there's a press release that we received about 5 p.m. today, and I think that's something that we would want to look at in a few. And I think that goes directly to Masese, because there are a number of issues that the county executive are raising in that press release. They are claiming that maybe the county executive committee member in charge of finance, treasury, and economic planning was not able to come because the report for the budget and appropriation was availed to them less than 24 hours to the time. What can you say regarding that, Bwana Masese? And is it something to do with the, does it touch on what you're doing? What can you comment on that?
Thank you so much, SK. Maybe perhaps before we delve into the reasons that have been presented as to why the CC, Treasury, and the Economic Planning would not manage to go to the Assembly, I think we might first want to revisit the what the clerk just shared. Particularly, one is to note that the Assembly has done quite well, the county government generally, because they've met the timelines. I think the Public Finance Management Act stipulates that at least by end of June, the county government should have a budget to inform its operations for the financial year. And I think that's a good score, and that the fact that the government of Baringo went out of its way to reach out to citizens, to consult with them amidst the COVID pandemic. From where we sit, that's something that we really applaud the Baringo County leadership for. Now, there are certain red flags that one identifies already from the presentation by the clerk. Number one is the extent to which the public finance regulations have been honored or adhered to. True, the Public Finance Management Act stipulates that up to 30% of the total budget should go to development and 70% to recurrent expenditure. Even then, of the 70%, up to 35% is what should go to personnel and emoluments. But the picture painted already is that we are spending up to 55%. So 20% over and above what the law stipulates. Number two is the amount of money going to operations and maintenance. And I like what the clerk really said, that this is the engine that would drive implementation of the development budget. So if it's at this law of 16%, you begin to wonder if the engine is going to be efficient, if the engine is going to drive the implementation of the development budget. And from where we sit, it's squarely upon the county assembly to enforce the financial regulations. Granted, we have got this whole challenge, not unique to Baringo, but it's a challenge you'll find in most counties, where the wage bill is bulging, and a number of reasons have been proffered as to why we have this. We inherited stuff and so on and so forth. But then we expect from the leadership of the county, particularly from the assembly, to demand from the county executive what they are doing to address the bulging wage bill. So to approve a budget that from the onset does not adhere to the financial regulations, that's a red flag, and you might want to know the implication to the implementation.
And that is what yes. I would go to ask you next. But yes. Before that, yes. Number three on the reasons as to why the CEC for finance did not show up reads that the CEC did not, sorry, number four reads that the roads and maintenance levy fund is a conditional grant allocated on basis of a work plan approved by the County Executive Committee, the Cabinet, and the Kenya Roads Board. The committee failed to adhere to these conditions and went ahead to allocate these funds without due process. Is it among the red flags that you're saying?
Thank you, and thank you indeed for going back. Conditional grants, and Clark already has pointed to that, and we are expecting quite some good money as a county coming from the national government in the name of conditional grants. What does it mean, conditional grants? That before you can receive and spend that money, certain conditions must be met. For the case of the roads maintenance fuel levy fund, the conditions are set out, and one of them is that the money must be included as part of the county budget. For this case, we've done that. Number two, a work plan must be developed by the county, shared with the roads board, and copied to the treasury for approval. So what I see the CC raising is that that work plan that was shared perhaps is what might not have been considered when the assembly was approving. And from what I've gathered, maybe the clerk can help us understand this, is that the almost 153,000 that we are to receive.
153 million.
153 million was shared. Is it equally to all the wards? If that be the case, I'm not very sure. The clerk will illuminate this. If that is the case, then it's another red flag, because how then do we achieve the principle of equity? Because this has been one of the concerns. If you look at what the money is meant for, it should service county roads. Now, if we were to consider the county roads across wards, are they of the same kilometers? would we say the county roads in which ward? Dembus, Berikera, is the same as the county roads in Kabarnet ward? Do we say Marigat, the number of kilometers of county roads?
Definitely, they cannot be the same. Yeah.
So what then would be the basis of sharing that money equally? What would be the basis of, if that is the case? Because my reading of the statement appears to be saying that the committee and the assembly decided to share the roads maintenance levy fund equally across the 30 wards.
Okay. Then
so, yeah.
Maybe before we exit that point, to you again, Masese, what's your take about the CC giving a wide berth on his responsibility to come and read the budget? Is it a must for the CC for Treasury to show up? A yes or a no? Then
that's one issue that I find myself strained to comment
very
on,
well.
Because I'm not sure the which law at this the point of approval because whether he went or not did not stop the assembly from approving the budget.
Okay, approval. I think maybe I read what the House business for yesterday, and I think one of the reasons why
the standing order,
he was supposed to show up so that he can pronounce the budget and give the estimates, and at the same time tell the public and the county assembly how the county government of Baringo would be raising its revenues. Anyway, aside from that, Wanakoech, you're the clerk to the county assembly, being the CEO there. What can you say about that event? I could see MCAs were very furious about his failure to show up. What can you say? Then we'll go directly. That was just a highlight of the budget and what transpired yesterday. Maybe you can give your comment there, then we can move on.
Thank you very much. Indeed, the County Executive Committee member for Finance was expected to appear to make a statement to highlight on the budget estimates as approved by the County Assembly. Legally, as you know, Mr. Komen, since the, since we enacted or we gave ourselves the Constitution of 2010, budget making process became really a different aspect of financial management altogether. In the past, before the 2010 Constitution, the Minister for Finance in Parliament was the only person who knew about the budget until he makes the statement on a budget reading day. After 2010, after we gave ourselves a new constitution through that promulgation, the budget making process became a consultative process. It became a public process. It really became something for stakeholders to discuss. And tradition has it that the Minister for Finance, the Cabinet Secretary, and the CEC member for Finance has to make a statement on the highlights of the budget. In the law, that is the Public Finance Management Act of 2012, under Section 129, the CEC for Finance is required to make a pronouncement on the revenue-raising measures. Remember, the budget has got two components. It has got the resources, the revenue, and has got the expenditure. What the budget committee addressed itself to was on the expenditure part. The law requires that 90 days after the enactment of the appropriation bill, the CEC for Finance or the county assembly should pass a finance bill which allows the county government to collect taxes, to collect charges and fees to finance the budget. And what the law says is that after approval of the estimates by the county assembly, the CEC for Finance is expected to make a pronouncement on how he will finance that budget. What has happened before is that the CC for Finance gets an opportunity to actually go and make an highlight on the expenditure part, but more importantly, concentrate on revenue raising measures. So he will make policy statements. He is expected to make a declaration on how he will finance the budget by giving an highlight on how revenue will be collected. Mr. Komen, it is a tradition in Baringo that the CC for Finance, and that has been the case from the year 2013, 2014, all the way to, I think, 2019, 2020. The CC for Finance appears before the County Assembly to make such pronouncements. Yesterday, we gave an opportunity to the CC member for Finance, according to the program that we had set out, through their own request and as a tradition. And we expected the CC for Finance. Unfortunately, he did not appear. Okay. He hasn't communicated officially to the County Assembly as to why he did not appear. But what we have seen circulating in social media a few minutes ago is a statement that is purported to have been made by the county executive. But when you look at it critically, it was actually, it's not signed off, but it is shown as if it was issued by a senior communications officer of Baringo County government. That cannot pass to be a statement of Baringo County government, because honestly, that statement can only come from the CEC himself, His Excellency the Governor, the County Secretary, or any other state officer. But for this case, we will perhaps may not want to dwell on this matter, because to me, we will be giving a lot of airtime and a lot of unnecessary attention to something that has not qualified for admission to the County Assembly. Okay. The County Assembly is a very serious institution. It can only receive a document that is properly signed and issued and pronounced by a state officer.
Fair enough. I think, as you've said, we need not to dwell on that, and we wouldn't really dwell on it. I think we are just looking at the kind of content that has just come in, and it was only fair for this panel to give their thoughts on that statement. So you've given your thoughts as the CEO for the County Assembly, and the public has heard. And to you who is watching tonight, maybe should you have a question regarding the same issue that we've just tabled here. It's a statement that was written by a senior communications officer, that is Silas Kiptui, and he was responding on behalf of the county executive side of the government of Baringo. So let's hear what you think and give your views on the comment section. We'll be able to pick one or two if we'll manage, and should we not manage, we can still do a follow-up moving forward. And back to you, Masese, tumekuweka sana. While we were covering the budget reading yesterday, the name of your organization came out many times, together with the Baringo County, I think it is an association of civil societies in Baringo, which you are a member. Your organization is a member. What role did your organization play in the budget making process within Baringo? I remember in 2016, there were a number of activities that you're doing in educating people on the processes of making budget. Are you still doing that? What role did you play at this time?
So thank you. Indeed, thanks for getting us out of the discussion on what happened yesterday. Because the organization I represent here would find it difficult to begin commenting on, and I think that's why I was a bit strained. Moving away from that topic is a big relief for me. Yeah. Because then it might appear that we are prosecuting, someone in absentia. The Center of Enhancing Democracy and Good Governance has been quite involved in the budget making process since counties started operating. Indeed, if there is anything that we are serious about, is to ensure that our budgets adhere to the laid down procedures, and the budgets address the felt needs of the people. Mark you, and this is important for our listeners. A budget is one single most important public policy. As the clerk has said, the budget determines not only, the budget determines whether or not we are going to be served by government, whether or not we are going to receive services, the quality of those services, and so on and so forth. And where we raise the money, from, how we spend that money, all those decisions are made through the budget process. And as an organization, our concern has always been public participation in making these decisions. And the budget process is divided into 4 phases. So in every phase, we are always concerned about whether or not citizens of Baringo or any other county for that matter are effectively and meaningfully involved and consulted. That is always our concern. And for this to happen, there are certain preconditions that must be in place. One of them should be unfettered access to information. The government has a responsibility to ensure that, so that then citizens are able to contribute, to make informed choices, informed decisions. So over the years, ZGG and Baringo County Civil Society Forum has played a very, I would say, significant role in mobilizing citizens to participate and to be involved in making decisions at every phase. And we do this through a number of strategies. One, of course, is sharing information.
Yeah.
And we must say, until perhaps early this year, and I hope this has changed, Baringo County has been rated highly in terms of budget transparency.
Yeah.
We always found important budget documents in the websites, and that made it easy for us to access this information, analyze it, and help the citizens and communities in Baringo to get to understand and, get informed and therefore meaningfully engage in the process. But of course, earlier this year, we witnessed a shift. We do not see, the website was a bit stale. We do not see important budget documents in the website. We actually came to the county to seek that information ourselves from the officers. So in 2020, 2021, it is a difficult year, particularly for those concerned with public participation. So the government measures to contain the spread of COVID banned public gatherings.
Yeah.
So it was virtually impractical that we would convene people so that we do what we usually do.
So before you go into the strategies that you put for the budget making process in the 2020-2021, maybe I would want to hear from the CEO for the County Assembly. How was, what strategies did the Assembly put in order to ensure that the people of Baringo are involved in this process? And maybe why I'm diving into that is because about 3 weeks ago, we hosted the CEC for Finance, Dr. Richard Rotich, who gave a highlight of how the budget would look like. Then along the process, along the conversation, a comment came in and somebody was saying that there are a number of ways the County Assembly has put to engage the public. Maybe you can tell us that, and you'll also help us to understand whether they were effective or not. And of course, Paul will help us to know whether, according to their standards of doing this participation or rather engaging the public, whether it was effective or not.
Thank you very much. Indeed, I want to confirm and also be alive to the fact that during this period, from sometime in March all the way to this moment, this country is facing a very unique situation.
Yeah.
Extraordinary times, really. And our new normal is what you see around.
Yeah.
You see us in face masks. You see us sanitizing most of the time, washing hands. This is because of the COVID. And the protocols that were issued by the Ministry of Health, which really bans public gatherings of more than 15, is very much applicable to us in Baringo. And we as institutions of government are at the forefront to promote these protocols,
Yeah.
so as to curb and actually combat this pandemic. So as a county government, particularly the Baringo County Assembly, we looked at the situation that we are in, and budget making process, as Masesa has said, has got very strict deadlines and timelines. It's actually statutory. If you don't pass your budget by 30th of June,
Yeah.
you get into a very awkward situation, because funding may not come forth and you may be left without even paying salaries. So we tried as an assembly, after we received the budget estimates from the county executive as required by law, we actually went out to think about how do we go about public participation. Mr. Komen, you will realize that the Article 201 of the Constitution requires that there should be transparency and accountability, including public participation in all public finance matters.
Yeah.
It is one of the key principles of public finance management.
Yeah.
So what we did as a county assembly, of course, we issued the normal notice through the print media, the newspapers, inviting members of the public to present memoranda and to present written submissions. Besides that, we organized to have 15 members of every ward converging at a certain designated locations in a sub-county headquarters.
So 15 to meet the minimum, or rather the maximum number
yes.
of people who can gather
Yes.
in a place at a
And
time.
then we employed, or we used the current technology. We actually used Zoom meeting platform, which was connected to the county, sub-county headquarters and the county headquarters. We mounted up screens where the members of the public, 15 of them at a time,
Yeah.
were able to engage the Budget and Appropriation Committee, which was seated in a hall in the county assembly,
Yeah.
and receive views and answer their questions.
Yeah.
And we did it so well. We also provided a link to Alpha Radio to transmit whatever was happening across the county to other listeners in every corner of this county. Yeah. Where Alpha Radio reaches. The engagement was so intensive, and in fact, you know, unlike the physical movement, the chairman and the budget committee for Budget and Appropriation Committee was able to engage the public from every ward by sitting in the office and answering their questions and obtaining their input. The last platform that we used was to open up WhatsApp groups. For every ward, we opened up a WhatsApp platform for every ward just to discuss about the budget for 2020-2021. I want to confirm to you that we received very, very useful information and comments across the entire county. On the memoranda, a record over 10 or actually more than 15 memoranda and submissions were received from members of the public, from organized groups like the Nubian community, like the Backsoft, and even ward groups. We have across this county people calling themselves budget champions. I am sure my friend from ZGG may have gotten involved in training people who are now budget champions across this county. They have written numerous submissions and memoranda.
Yeah.
And these are the ones that we have used even in analyzing and in concluding this budget. So I want to say that although we were constrained by the current situation, we took it upon ourselves as a county assembly to ensure that we gave an opportunity to the members of the public and any other stakeholder who wished to make their voices heard on the budget making process to be heard, and that was very successful. I want to register my appreciation to Sovereign Insight, who also who coordinated the WhatsApp groups, and Toom Digital and also Alpha Radio. They gave us wonderful services. I think we got the best of the response that we expected.
Very well. I think that one on the rating as of how much it reached the last man on the ground, I think that is subject to the public to give their feedback. And maybe you're watching and were you involved? Can we hear your feedback? Were you satisfied by the way Zoom meetings and the WhatsApp groups were being operated or opened? Let's hear. We acknowledge the fact that it's a new thing, and I believe, as you've said, Bwana Koech, you've tried your best to ensure that, or rather you tried your best to ensure that the word reached the ground from the time that you did an advertisement on the mainstream media, the newspaper, to the point that you are engaging third-party organizations to help you to set up the Zoom meetings, set up the screens within the assembly and outside the assembly, the sub-county headquarters and all that. So let's hear your feedback. How was the budget making process? How well were you involved using technology? It's the new normal, so we didn't have any other option. And good enough, clearly there are a number of people who sent their memoranda, and I think that was responsive, looking at how fast things needed to be done. Now let's continue with our questions. I think the time is really moving, and maybe to the viewers, we might need to exceed the time kidogo so that we manage to ensure that we dissect this topic properly. Now, on issue to do with prudence, you know, every budget, anybody who does a budget would want to spend your money prudently. And there's always this notion of maybe the members of the county assembly encouraging the citizens to spread the resources to so many projects so that they can be felt far and wide in their respective wards. Of course, we know the net effect of such a strategy will end up making development, maybe slow down development, and maybe take too long to achieve some of the intended purpose or the outcomes that are needed in the budget. And I think this is purely on the implementation. How are these lessons being applied in approving the budget estimates for 2020-2021? I know this could be going to the assembly, but I would direct it to you. When I believe you are engaging the MCAs, Bwana Paul Masese, as an organization, what advice were you giving them regarding this? And maybe Koech will help us to understand if what good thing did they do to ensure that no such mistake happened.
Thank you so much. And thank you again, CPA Koech. You know, what you just said, I think it gives ZGG and the parts of Baringo County Civil Society Organizations Forum some bragging rights. Yeah. Really, every memorandum you mentioned, we can see our hand in it. Because if we talk about the Nubian community, we've worked so closely together to ensure that as a minority in a part of Baringo that is not known for minorities, you know, have had to engage in the budget process. The budget champions, this is a team of sons and daughters of Baringo that are very passionate about development matters of this county. They are your ordinary, I don't know the equivalent of Wanjiko in Baringo, but they are your ordinary,
They call them
community members.
Jemuge.
But they have emerged as great change makers in our communities. And we've seen what they've been able to deliver, and we are indeed very proud of them. And as an organization, being associated with them is a great honor. Paxov did a wonderful job this time around, right from the formulation of the ADP, the fiscal strategy paper. We did submit memoranda, and as we realize, budget process is a continuous process. So from day one, we've been on it. On the matters prudence, we've always held the view that we need to see a government that appreciates the priorities of our people, the development priorities, a government that has got a clear and deep understanding of what people in various parts of the country would need, what would constitute, sustainable development. And the realization of sustainable development begins with decisions we make as to where money should go. So over the years, we've been concerned that there is this thing about, particularly for members of the county assembly, I represent a ward, so my ward deserves as much development, quote unquote, as another ward. So if we are equal, if our title is member of county assembly, then the resource envelope to a county assembly should be the same. And that's now what defeats sustainability in terms of development programming. And so we were very specific this time around in our memorandum to the county assembly. And what we said is that given the situation we are in, where we are expecting an economic dip, indeed, by the time we are doing our memorandum, IMF and the World Bank had already said that our economy might not perform beyond 1%. So we said one of the things we'd want to do is to put more focus on service delivery. So as opposed to brick and mortar projects, doing more projects, we look at the projects we've already done, put money there to ensure that they translate into services, so that we achieve utility. I would want, of course, to hear from the clerk if this was considered during the budget approval. And did we, for example, because one of the things we said, this whole idea of word envelope is one that we needed to de-emphasize this time around, so that we look at where we have water projects that have not been able to deliver water to households. We ask, why have they not delivered water? Okay. Where we have dispensaries, health centers, why are they not functioning optimally? So that's where money goes. So that was one of the things. So being considerate of the economic times and the realities of the moment, and ensuring that money goes to where is most needed, would be a measure of prudent application of resources.
So are you saying that you as an organization that is in partnership with the international budget partnerships, are you saying that you're discouraging ward development fund? Is that what you're saying? A yes or a no? Then we move on.
What I would say,
a yes or a no, Bwana Masese.
It would be difficult to give a clear yes or no answer, but we are discouraging this whole idea of equal, like deciding 10 million to go to all counties. There should be a criteria aimed at attainment of equity.
That's quite clear, and I think it is within the conversation.
Of course, that might not make a lot of political sense. But then I think, again, considering where we are.
Okay, why I was asking that is because during the budget reading process yesterday at the assembly, the MCAs really congratulated themselves on the effectiveness of the ward development fund. So I felt it would only be fair if I ask that. Maybe to you, Bwana Koech, you've talked. We were looking at the bit of the assembly, or rather the MCAs wanting to spread the resources thin into various places in their respective wards. You were involved in the generation of the report that was read. Is that true? Yes? You were involved?
Yes,
Yes.
as far as technical advice is concerned.
Exactly. So now that you are involved, what strategies, or rather, did the MCAs resort to thinning or spreading thin those resources, or they chose to ensure that they put resources on projects that are of concern, or rather that are of public demand, or that which the people would want to see them completed within a stipulated period of time?
Thank you very much, Mr. Komen. I want to put it this way. The budget structure for Baringo County government over the past years, since the onset of devolution, has been into two components: the ward fund and a flagship project budget. So that there is the fund that goes to the grassroots. And I want our listeners, of course, they perhaps know how Baringo looks like. 30 wards, 11,000 square kilometers, more than 700,000 residents. Let me also put it this way. Our resources are so scarce. There is a lot of competition for resources. And to be honest with you, Mr. Komen, our people are yearning to see development across the entire corner, every corner of this county. And what is happening is that from the beginning, that structure of a ward fund and that structure of retaining some money for flagship, more impactful projects was consented on. It became a consensus, so to speak. And the ward fund is the fund that is seen to be going very deep into the grassroots. And I want to also appreciate, I want our listeners and our viewers to appreciate that our people are really hungry for development. So when the funds are released, or when an amount is set for every ward, the temptation is the public would want to share it as much as possible so that every corner of the county gets something. The members of the county assembly who are representing the people are also eager to see every part of this county developed. And because of the scarcity of the resources and because of the vastness of this county, it has resulted in thinning and spreading out the resources to very thin amounts. And that is a reality. We started around 2016 to encourage members of the public to do fewer projects. That when you are given a ward fund of, say, 30 million, we try to encourage them, because I was then the chief officer for finance, to encourage them to do very few projects, to consolidate their monies, and to make sure that they do projects which are more impactful at the ward level. We managed to achieve some level of success at that time, but it was short-lived, because, you know, especially as you go closer to an election, people feel they have been left behind, that their projects or their areas in the villages have not been developed. What I would recommend, the flagship projects are also not doing very well, except the projects that are coming from development partners. Yeah. There are some good projects that I can mention, like the Maoi Abattoir, like the Kenya Urban Support Program in Kabarnet Town, like the construction of the surgical block in Kabarnet Hospital. These projects, and also a milk cooling plant in Dama Ravine, and also the Mogotio Tannery. these are projects that are benefiting from either conditional allocation, but more importantly, the loans and grants. These are projects which are more impactful, they are big in number. So we still will have this challenge of thin spreading of resources, or spreading of our resources so thin. I think what we need to be looking at is a policy step to ensure that we kind of guide the public, and also we make sure that there is some guided development, progress and policy, so that even wards can combine their resources and do a bit of more bigger projects. But you see, there is something that is also happening. You've seen wards combining their monies to buy road machinery. Like in Lama Ravine, the entire ward fund was consolidated to buy road machinery worth over 150 million. The same thing happened to Baringo Central, where they combine their resources. If we continue guiding the members of the public on this aspect, it means they can also combine resources and do a road network that cuts across more than one ward. They can even do a water project that actually benefits more than one ward. These are issues that require more of civic education and more engagement, guided development, guided democracy. These are things that are achievable, but it requires a lot of effort by the county executive. It requires a lot of effort by our leaders, elected MCAs, and everybody else. I agree with us. I agree with the observation that we are still spreading very thin our resources, and we may not achieve the desired impact and results.
Very well. I think you've acknowledged the fact that there is a danger in spreading resources thin to the level that projects may take a long period to be completed and even have an impact, as it has always been required by the Constitution, so that any funding for a project has a greater impact to the public. Anyway, and before we continue with our conversation, I think it's been a 1 hour run, and clearly this would be a 2 hour show, and like we had planned earlier to make it a 1 hour show. So tighten your belts as we continue to watch this. If you didn't have enough data bundles to watch, then you might need to reload so that you can catch up with all this conversation. You notice that this budget conversation is quite in-depth, coming from the Assembly representative, who is the CEO, clerk, and the clerk to the County Assembly, Koech, and of course Paul Masese, who is the programs manager at the Center for Enhancing Democracy and Good Governance. So before we continue, I think we'll need to take a short break. And just before taking that break, I can see a comment by the Director for Public Participation, Wesley Crop. He's saying that Baringo News, it's a good platform, and said GG is an effective organization for advocacy, which has been a success complement to the county government of Baringo. And I chose to read that comment because it's coming from a senior government official who is appreciating the work that you are doing as said GG. I think you have a good partnership with the county government of Baringo, and that is quite commendable. And also listening to what the MCAs was saying yesterday at the county assembly, I think you're really deep-rooted within Baringo, and that role that you're playing is really a good one. I'll not allow you to respond to that for now. I would only encourage every viewer who is viewing at the moment to give their thoughts. What comment, what question do you have to these two panelists here, whom we've managed to bring on board as Baringo News during this conversation? And it is all about the budget making and the role of the county assembly in this budget making process. So as we take a break, it will be about 2-3 minutes, and we'll come back to continue with our engagement. So send out your comments to us so that we will read them out and respond to them to the best of the capacity that we do have at the moment. Keep it.
Nimesimama katika maeneo mojawapo ambapo kuna barabara hii aina ya SS Road. Sehemu hii ni kati ya Kabarnet Town na Aina Moi Center. Sehemu hii inafahamika sana kwa aina hii ya barabara ambayo kwa kimombo wanasema ni section C51. Katika barabara hii utakuta kwamba ukitokea maeneo ya Kabarnet utafikia Iten na kisha kaunti ya Uasin Gishu, mji wa Eldoret. Katika barabara hii ni mojawapo ya sehemu ambapo kwa sasa ukiangalia upande huu imeandikwa viewpoint. Hapa ndipo baadhi ya abiria wanaosafiri kupita katika kaunti tofauti wanasimama na kupata mandhari hii. SS Road wenyeji wanasema. Naam, barabara aina hii inapatikana pia katika maeneo ya Kabarnet kuelekea Marigat na pia maeneo ya Eldama Ravine kuelekea Tenges. Ukizuru Baringo County, basi usikose kuthibitisha kuwa SS Road ipo na inapendwa na wengi.
Seen how beautiful Baringo is. You've traveled with the Janet Kiriswa through the SS, the winding road leading you to Iten. That is Kabarnet Iten Road. That aside, now we've looked at issues to do with budget making process, involvement of the public, the strategies that the County Assembly of Baringo put in place, the role that was played by the non-governmental organization, or rather the partners in the budget making process. Now, to implementation, I think that is even more crucial because as the next step in the budget, it is the next and the final process in the budget making process. So on implementation, in undertaking budget oversight as the County Assembly, of course it is expected of the Assembly to receive and review the budget implementation reports. And every quarter, I believe those reports come to you every quarter, and take appropriate measures into ensuring that the budget is implemented well. If it does, what happens such that at the end of every financial year we are still, somehow everybody still complains that maybe the budget or rather some project is stalling, some of the roads are not being made. The other day, there were some residents of Eldama Ravine who were complaining that a road was allocated about 5 million shillings. So they had to go protest so that their voices can be heard. Why is it that you people as the Assembly are receiving reports about the progress of projects and in the long run, people are still complaining? Does it mean that the Assembly is not doing its oversight role well? Maybe you can touch on that and tell us what strategies are you putting to ensure that proper implementation of projects is done during this budget of 2020-2021.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Komen. You have rightly observed, and it's a legal requirement that the County Assembly is expected to review and to make recommendations on the quarter budget implementation reports. The county executive is expected to prepare, and each accounting officer is supposed to prepare a budget implementation report for each quarter and submit it to Treasury for consolidation before it is finally submitted to the county assembly. That is a requirement of law. And I can confirm to you that, and our viewers, that this actually has been the practice and it happens. These reports, once they are received, they are committed to a committee on finance and economic planning, which is responsible for scrutinizing, which is responsible for analyzing the reports. These reports are in the form of financial and non-financial information. It will present information on how the expenditure on various budget and programs have been utilized, and also how programs and projects have been implemented. The truth is, the committee responsible has been scrutinizing and analyzing the reports and making their, tabling their reports in the floor of the county assembly in the house, during which members of the county assembly will consider as a motion and adopt the recommendations. I want to confirm to our viewers that it is true there is a serious challenge on implementation of projects and programs by the county government. This is what you are alluding to as rollover funds, as balances carried forward over many years, and this is indeed a challenge. Even when the budget for 2020-2021 financial year was being approved yesterday, I believe you had many of the members of the county assembly really lamenting and making very strong statements on this issue of implementation. One member said, currently we have actually changed the strategy by allocating money to projects and programs which do not require a lot of time to implement. And they said, we now expect the county executive to roll out these programs as soon as possible, because they don't involve development and building of construction of buildings and other projects which take a lot of time. This is what my friend Masesa has also alluded to. I will make a comment later about how the budget has been structured to address this. But what I want to say is that project implementation is not a very easy thing. It is not something that you can say is a straight jacket. There are systemic issues, and this is what I want our viewers to appreciate, and also the county executive to take seriously. I think there are systemic issues affecting implementation of projects. If you look at the reports of the Committee of Budget, Committee of Finance and Economic Planning, they have always issued recommendations which are intended to fast track on project implementation. Yeah. One of the key of the observations, at one point, the committee and the county assembly adopted a recommendation that all contractors who have delayed in implementing their projects should be discontinued, should be blacklisted. There should be a mechanism to censor them. That was a recommendation of the county assembly, and it was adopted. In other recommendations, the county assembly recommended hiring of more technical personnel, maybe architects, maybe quantity surveyors, yeah, maybe clerk of works. They recommended that we need more of this staff. They also have addressed, the county assembly has addressed itself to unnecessary delays in development of bills of quantities and designs by recommending that the county executive can develop prototype bills of quantities. There are many projects which are repetitive in nature. Like when you are constructing an ECD center, yeah, or classroom, yeah, or a maternity project, or a dispensary project, you have standard designs.
Yeah.
And they can be used over and over again. The county assembly even recommended at some point that this process of development of designs and BQs can be outsourced to final year university students of reputable universities, so that they can undertake to develop these quantities as fast as possible. What I want to say in summary and in nutshell, the county assembly has addressed itself very loudly on this issue, that implementation needs to be discussed, implementation of projects needs to be taken very seriously, so that the people of Baringo can benefit from the funds and the allocations that have been made as quickly as possible. What I think is still lacking is a very serious diagnosis of the problem, specifically looking at the systemic challenges that affects the different departments, because they seem to be systemic issues. The assembly at some point recommended that if a project has taken 3 years to complete, that project should stop, or funding for such projects should be stopped. If it has not begun, we need to reallocate, and the public can be told that this project can no longer be implemented because of this and these other challenges.
Okay.
Yeah, so I want to agree that we have the challenge of implementation. It is a challenge that requires a more consultative approach. It requires the county executive to put its house in order, and specifically look at the systemic issues.
I think I'll still need to come back to you later regarding, you just came into the assembly the other day. I think you're about 7 months old?
Yes, 7 months.
Exactly. So I'll still need to come back to you to find out what strategies do you have as the CEO for the County Assembly of Baringo to ensure that proper implementation of the budget 2020-2021 would you put in place so that the budget is well implemented and those systemic problems are addressed. To you, Masese, you've been playing a major role in ensuring that the public is engaged in the budget making process. What were some of the sticking out issues when you are engaging the public and in educating them with regards to the budget making process? What were some of the most sticking out issues? Because Koech is saying that, or rather, there was a question that came up earlier about implementation. People complaining that projects are not moving. Were there such? Maybe you can mention, then you can give a detail into that.
Thank you so much. Indeed, late implementation of projects has been a major concern raised by the people of Baringo. It's one concern that has potential to grow back the gains that Baringo has made as far as development programming is concerned, particularly with regard to citizen participation. One of the risks we see is that increasingly people are becoming, apathy is creeping in, and sooner or later, people might stop engaging in all these processes. Because it's obvious, if you said you wanted this project in this financial year, 3-4 years down the line, you don't see it, then the natural question to ask, why should we engage in this old business of budget making? And it's sticking out, it's very loud out here, and I think you will hear it. Now, SK, I think I agree with everything that the clerk is saying. What breeds this delayed implementation and therefore what people call rollover are systemic issues, and others are acts of negligence on both the part of the executive and the assembly. If you asked me, the problem begins right from formulation of the budget. Number one, if you do not develop a budget using the program-based budget format, how would you, for example, report on implementation? So the reports that the assembly receives from departments, how much review can you do on those reports? If there are no clear programs, there are no clear targets, there are no clear indicators. What with, and where I agree in terms of systemic issues, procurement. How many departments develop and deliver on procurement plans? You know, because you pick any report from the system. We are now in quarter 4. Yeah, we just finished quarter 4. You will find in quarter 3 an implementation report reading procurement. Yeah, you've had quarter 1, you've had quarter 2, you've had quarter 3, and now you are saying procurement. Some are design. That's the point at which PQs are being developed. If you asked me, everything that is failing has to be a shared responsibility between both the executive and the assembly. Because the assembly is the supervisor. If the workmanship is poor, you cannot blame the workmen alone. You should also look at the role being played by the supervisor. Now, we will go back to the question of operations and maintenance budget. If we have not allocated enough resources to enable technical officers, do their work, then what do you expect? Take the case of the water department, which is doing very poorly. If you look at the budget, your water department, you will realize did not, for example, use the format that is preferred. But then in terms of rollover, this is the one department where, and we are very, very concerned, where there are a lot of projects being rolled over. How many people, technical staff do we have in this department? How many vehicles do we have that can facilitate these people to move? How much money is set aside in terms of operations and maintenance to facilitate movement of this technical staff to project sites so that they're able to ensure quality? So if and when we continue doing this all over and again, we might be considered, as they say, doing the same thing all the time, expecting different results. The blame comes back to you. So my recommendation on that, in terms of improving implementation, we've already shared this recommendation actually in our memorandum.
Yeah.
We recommended very strongly to the county assembly to demand from the county executive, number 1, strategies of addressing rollover. This is a discussion we started in the financial year 2017-2018 when we reviewed the Auditor General report. Continuously, that has been an issue being flagged by the Office of the Auditor General. We made a recommendation, and at some point, indeed, there was a decision to constitute a joint committee that would bring the executive, the assembly, and the civil society together to start reflecting on how do we even develop a rapid response initiative to ensure that we reduce rollover and, we catch up on the project implementation. The fact that that did not happen, I might want to ask why. Is it a failure on the executive? Is it a failure on the assembly? If you ask me from where I sit, it's a failure on the assembly because the assembly supervises the executive. So if the executive is not doing what it's supposed to do, we might want to see more creativity on the part of the assembly in terms of enforcing their own decisions. Aside from that, SK and our viewers, what if we decided we go project by project? We know where these projects are. They are in our within our jurisdiction.
Yeah.
We say this water project started in this year. Let's find out why it's not happening. So that, as you said, and I loved it, concerted effort. We say, let's this year aim to reduce rollover by this percentage. And then project to project, department by department, so that we begin from a clean slate. As opposed to piling up, I will tell you.
Yeah.
The body language of most technical officers out here is like, well, let it happen. I mean, we are not enabled to do our work. Some of them are overworked. We are very few technical people who actually is the engine we talked about, fueling implementation. You remember?
Yeah.
So that is, in my view, the route we've not taken, and the route we must take as an assembly. So in this regard, the assembly must provide the leadership. Yes, we know. Legally, it's the role of the executive to implement.
Yeah.
But, again, how much money do we allocate to projects? That's why formulation affects implementation. Take, for example, a borehole. Who knows? Who knows how much money it would take to sink, equip a borehole, and ensure that water from that borehole reaches households? Yeah? Who knows? At some point, there was a lot of guesswork. Would they say 2 million? Huh? Yeah. 2 million water, Kipsiana and water borehole. Kipsiana is Nakuru. Sorry. But we engaged the assembly and the executive alike and said, why don't we sit down? We have the technical capacity to develop, reasonable costs for projects. Why do we find ourselves allowing laymen like myself in the village to say, this is the amount of money we need to do the project? Why don't we guide them?
So maybe to summarize what you're trying to say, I think you're saying that should we miss a step in the budget making process, a mistake that is done during the formulation
precisely
will have a ripple effect up to the end.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. And my final remark, particular on this, is that during the budget day, part of what we've done in this process, we've engaged the assembly, and we are really, really proud of the government here. When they were in Kisumu reviewing the estimates, developing the report, we had a Sumu meeting. We called it a budget day. And packs of members did in our presentation to the committee on preparations, we did say, for example, that look, one of the things you might want to do moving forward is to develop a cost reference for projects. Say, water projects, any borehole, these are the costs.
So that you get it right whenever you're doing the
we
budget.
get it right in formulation.
Very well. I'm trying to speed up that because I'm seeing time is really moving, and there was a video that I watched before the beginning of this show, and CPA Koech, you were faulting the county executive for failing to spend the money, and I think rather failing to completely or exhaustively spend the development money. So I can see the issue of rollover is quite sticking out. It is sticking out in this conversation, and I was to come back to it later, but I think it is an opportune time now to ask, what is the state of rollover in Baringo County at the moment, and what is being done to ensure that we don't experience another rollover in the coming financial year? On January 8th, there was a video that was circulating on social media, and Koech was saying at that moment we were at 4 billion. Is it true? And what are the next steps moving forward as the assembly? You realize that Masese is already putting the blame on the assembly, that you're kind of failing in your role on the oversight.
Thank you very much. I want to pick from where Masese has left. Really, the passion and the strength and the voice that he has added into this issue is so commendable. I feel he is talking as if he was part and parcel of Baringo County government. And this is really something that we all need to appreciate, that we are getting, people are getting impatient, people are not happy that resources are made available, and the only challenge is spending. That is something that I think I want to really appreciate my friend for coming out very clearly that we are not doing well. And he has made it clear that it is a shared responsibility. And that is the truth. I want to say this, Mr. Komen, that what he has said and what I have also shared are things that are in black and white. These things are known. These things have been said. What remains to be done is to implement even the issues that have been discussed. Like when he talked of rapid results initiatives, they are in our reports. They are in the reports of the Finance and Economic Planning Committee. They were passed as resolutions of the County Assembly. The issues about dealing with project managers and the entire issue of accounting officers. One of the resolutions that I saw in that report, which is in black, actually boldened, is that notice was given by the County Assembly to remove those accounting officers who are not doing their work as expected, especially on implementation of projects. So everything has been said. Everything is written. What remains a challenge is to implement. Yeah. To implement the recommendations and to follow through every aspect of project implementation. I think if all of us accepted that we have a role to play and came out strongly to do what has been recommended, it will be a thing of the past. Yes, in December, precisely I think it was 27th of December, 2019, I had just come from West Pokot to take up the responsibility as the clerk of Baringo County Assembly. Yeah. At that time, at the close of the financial year 2019-2020, the county had reported a rollover of 2.4 billion.
Yes, I remember that.
And it had been a concern to me. If you go back to my Facebook posts, even when I was in West Pokot, I came out very clearly to say 2.4 billion is unacceptable. And I even went ahead to talk about what 2.4 billion shillings can do. And I know many people are not happy about my comments. They are not happy that I was posting about it. Then, when I took up this responsibility, I had gone to my rural home and I said the current situation on project implementation and the current situation on rollover funds is something that needs to be addressed. And I was a worried man. I said, if it continues like that, as we close this year, the year that we have just closed, it was going to be about 3 billion or more.
And maybe, just to pause your response, take you back, Kidogo. By the time this new regime took over power, what was the standing of the rollover in Baringo County? Was there a rollover in the previous regime where you were serving as a finance chief officer?
Yes, there was. There was balances carried forward from one year to another.
Yeah.
The highest that we got was about 900 million.
Yeah.
Absorption rates were going up. When we left, we were at around 60-something% of absorption.
Would somebody say that? Would somebody be wrong to say that you're beginning to mulika the rollover because you are no longer serving in that regime? I saw such comments. Maybe you can clarify that.
I don't think I need to justify anything in terms of which regime I belonged.
Yeah.
Because the message here is the people need to benefit from the resources allocated.
Yeah.
And I can confirm to you that the absorption rates were going up. When we came in 2013, 2014, absorption was around less than 20%, because there were teething problems at that time.
At the onset of development.
And then the absorption increased systematically.
Yeah.
And over that about 4 years, absorption was around 65%. Meaning what was not absorbed was around 35%.
Yeah.
Thereafter, rollover started becoming the vice versa. Absorption became less, around 30 or 20, and it went down. What I wanted to pass across is that we are not in this for purposes of victimization or pointing fingers or blame game, or really saying who is to blame. We are looking at what can be done to ensure that the resources that have been set aside is utilized. Because resources, resources translates to services.
Sure.
Resources translate to development.
Very well.
Resources translate to goods and services for the people. And there are many counties who are looking at those resources and they envy and say, I wish these resources could be transferred to us. Because the reality is, people are saying, are there resources anywhere lying idle that cannot be utilized? So let's make it and set the record straight that this responsibility, this issue needs to be addressed. Whichever way we can address it better, we welcome it. And dialogue should be given a chance. Every institution of government should take responsibility, and its officers should take responsibility. I would personally take a very personal responsibility if I was an implementer of projects. When I came to the assembly, the county assembly was allocated some money. We absorbed the entire amount, 100% of the project that we are implementing in the construction of the chambers.
Good enough. You're saying that you're committed to taking responsibility, and right now you're sitting as the CEO for the County Assembly of Baringo, which is charged with ensuring that projects are implemented properly by the executive. So I believe with your enthusiasm and your will to ensure that there is proper implementation of projects in Baringo County, then I think we should be bracing ourselves to expect better things happening within our county. And I think generally that would be a good thing, and that would be a win for all of us as the people of Baringo. So I think we are heading to the tail end of our conversation, and it would only be fair to check what you, the viewers, are saying. And I'm seeing quite a number of comments are coming in. Some are appreciating what the assembly is doing, what said Gigi is doing, and I read a comment by one of the county government officers in charge of public participation. But maybe just to rush through a few and focus on those that have questions. I'm seeing Meshak Kipkoech Riot. You're saying, I had some questions, but the CPA Koech has tackled them satisfactorily. And let me believe that is true, and you were among the first people to show up in the watching, or rather as one of the people who are watching this show. And someone is asking, where is the final document of this budget? Where can people access it? Maybe Koech, that is yours, and then for the sake of the CSOs in Baringo, you're saying that Baringo was rated one of the most transparent counties in terms of budget process. Where can people find the final document that was read yesterday?
Thank you. As I said earlier, the process is that the enacted legislation, the appropriation bill, together with the supporting documents, once they are being executed by the Honorable Speaker and his office and the office of the clerk, will be submitted to the CEC member for finance. who I think there is of course, a process. They will be taken to His Excellency the Governor for assent. The people responsible for sharing that document is the county executive.
Yeah.
It is anchored in law that the county treasury shall publish and publicize all budget documents. So I believe once the governor has assented to the document and they have been uploaded and every process is complete, they will be published.
Yeah.
The normal channel for publishing this document is the county website.
Okay.
So we would be expecting that to happen, and I want to commend the Treasury for that tradition. It's a tradition that started when I was Chief Officer for Finance.
All right.
Of sharing documents of public, of budget making process.
Very well. So to you, Ronald Kiptaiwa, or rather, is it Ronald Kiptaiwa who was asking that question? You've heard where you'll find that document. You'll find it at the county government website. And Koech, who was once a chief officer for finance, is confirming to us that it has been a tradition to have that document on the county website. And Eno Kiptaiwa, I don't know if you people are brothers. I'm seeing your comments are following each other. You're asking, how effective is the public participation in influencing budget making process? Why is it that no project details is provided in the budget? Shed light on the budget deficit of 440 million and what is the status of rollover. I think we've tackled the issue of the status of rollover, and I think kidogo Paul Masese utakaa kwa baridi kidogo kwa sababu that question is directly going to Koech, and the question is, why is it that there are no project details that are given in the budget?
The document that will come out from the county assembly,
Yeah.
that will be remitted to the CC member for finance,
Yeah.
will contain all the project details.
Yeah.
It will have every information about the project, including the project location and other details. On the issue of budget deficit, there is an analysis. There is a review of budget expenditure for previous years, I think starting from 2018, 2019, and the CC member for finance reported some budget deficits. That is something that is not yet with us as a document, is not yet with the county assembly for discussion, or really for us to be able to understand exactly what that deficit represents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So someone here, he's I think Amos Monoi, he's mentioning the Cabernet Stadium as an issue of concern. I think it came out when we were talking about projects that are stalled. To you, Masese, while you were engaging the public regarding the budget making process, you gave strategies on how such can be prevented. How would you rate Baringo County when it comes to implementation of projects and the success of the projects that have been set, or rather the funding that has been set aside, and the success of the implementation of those projects?
Oh, quite a question, huh? Well, I think devolution earlier we used to say devolution is new, and so we had to do quite so many experiments. But I think since 2013 until now, we should have learned enough. So there are mistakes we shouldn't be making. So I would say, that Baringo, just like other counties, is learning, but there are repeated mistakes that make us a bit worried. And therefore, I would want to be very specific. One is that every year the Auditor General issues a report. And that report pinpoints certain gaps in terms of resource application. And Cabernet Stadium, for example, has been flagged 3 times.
Yeah.
The county assembly, the project going on, has been flagged equal number of times.
Yeah.
And certain issues that are raised are quite rudimentary, quite basic. Like a contract was issued, there's no evidence of it being extended, money is allocated, you know, and then nobody appears. Until some point, there was a very vague explanation that there was some matching grant to justify allocation, additional allocation to Cabernet Stadium.
Yeah.
And here is where and I think when I say this is shared. Me, I listen to people a lot.
Yeah.
People now begin to feel that actually we are cheating them, or they're being cheated.
So
they're being lied to. So
maybe to shoot it straight.
Yeah.
Out of the 9 counties that you are present in, are they 9? How many counties are you participating?
Presently, we are in 7 counties.
Out of the 7,
Yeah.
how would you rank Baringo in terms of implementation of the budget and also this issue of stalled projects and all that?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Ranking would need some kind of assessment. We like being objective.
Yeah.
And our ranking criteria.
We would want to know where we are.
Considers quite a number
where we
of
can be
things.
placed.
But I would say we are doing badly in terms of implementation, particularly with regard to rural. If you look at the budget, the amount of money we receive,
Yeah.
and if you look at what the clerk said, the percentage that is going to development, and the money that we keep rolling over, really, we are denying the citizens of Baringo the much needed services. So that's number 1. And number 2,
Yeah.
you are doing well. Until recently, I must keep reminding you that we had no problems getting information on budget implementation.
Until recently.
Until
how recent is
this
recent?
year, and it has all been blamed perhaps on COVID,
Yeah.
because this time our engagement in the budget process, we spent more energy
Yeah.
than we are used to getting information. And I hope, because we have very good technical people in the departments. We called Mr. Kendagol, for example,
Yeah.
in the treasury, and we tell him we are not seeing this. Kendagol, if he has the information, he'll give it to you. If he doesn't, we'll tell the people who are responsible for uploading to upload.
Okay.
So that's a good performance indicator.
Yep.
I want to break it down for you.
Mm-hmm.
Then the willingness, the accessibility of government.
Mm-hmm.
Here in Baringo, a lot of times we book appointments through phone calls. Yeah, the bureaucracies, the red tape in other counties, I think for some reason, hapa ikapit minimum, I would say. So it's easy for people like ourselves to create partnerships with the county, and that has worked. That is a good rating. But finally, learning.
Mm-hmm.
Could we say the Baringo County government is learning? I have a feeling we are not. Because if we are, we would have demonstrated evidence, particularly on the part of the assembly, that we are applying recommendations from the Auditor General. We are applying recommendations from the report or from the control of budget.
Mm-hmm.
We are even implementing our own decisions. Yeah.
So
that evidence does not exist.
Yeah.
And therefore, in terms of learning, I would rate the county poorly. And because of that, now I wouldn't say we are above average or below average, but I think the room for improvement is the biggest room.
So you've heard that we are performing poorly compared to other counties, and that is an independent opinion of an independent organization that is involved in budget making process in Baringo. Masese here, who is a representative of SEDGG, is the programs manager, is saying that we are not learning as a county. And I believe using such platforms that we have right now, we are continuing to learn. And I can assure you that we will improve with time. As I sit here, as the person who is controlling this conversation, I'm a resident of Baringo. I'm affected by the various issues that are affecting everybody in Baringo. So I'm not in any way left out. So we will pull our socks, as you said, and we will take advantage of that room for improvement and get back here next year, 2021, 2022, and have a better report. And let me believe that when we'll be having such a conversation next year, we should be able to celebrate some of the milestones that we will have achieved. Joshua Keitanyu, who's watching from the UK, is saying that, he's asking, what is the county doing in terms of budgetary allocations to boost internet access to the public? Clearly, we've been put in a corner. We've been left with just one option: make good use of internet to engage the public in budget making process. But there's a monster here: internet access. Today you could only see maybe a maximum of 100 people watching at a given time. That's a very minute percentage with regards, or rather with respect to the population of Baringo, which is about 600,000. What can you say about that? What strategies is the county government putting in place to ensure that there is ease of internet access within the county?
I want to say SECGG has been with us for a long time. They've done a great job as far as supporting the county government in dealing with financial issues, including social audits, are concerned. And so when my friend talks passionately about these issues, I know where he's coming from, and we truly appreciate. I think this is a truly very important partner. He's a very valued partner to us as a county government. And what he has honestly made his comments about our performance and our learning and everything concerning our projects are a true picture of what is going on. I want to believe that we will learn better and will improve in the days to come. On the investment on internet and other infrastructure, it is only this year that I have seen a lot of effort in this current budget to invest some money in internet infrastructure, especially to address the issue of Ajira program under, I think, the ICT authority, and it is a good gesture. There were ICT hubs which were established, and I know, of course, we may not have invested enough, but as a county government, it is a challenge that we need to take up and do more investment in resource allocation, especially on ICT services. SK, I want to request, or you allow me to make just a brief comment about the allocations, especially in relation to economic stimulus package during this COVID-19 situation. I want to register my appreciation to members of the County Assembly. I noted that the allocation this year, the proposals that have come across, have come forward, are allocations that are directed to youth, women, empowerment, and also support to people with disability. At least about 110 million has been channeled by the respective MCAs for different wards to address challenges affecting the youth. I saw allocations to border or motorcycles, purchase of motorcycles for youth groups. I saw allocation for purchase of beehives. I saw allocation for purchase of poultry, the chicks. I saw allocations to SACCOs. I saw allocations to purchase of cows, including Sahiwal bulls. I saw many allocations which are, in my view, intended to address the challenges that have come about because of COVID-19. I want to commend those wards which prioritize support to cooperative societies. I saw good allocations as grants to cooperative societies. I saw good allocations as support to income generating activities for youth and women. I felt this is a move in the right direction. I also saw allocation by the county executive to cooperative societies, to women and youth funds, which is going to boost the economic situation. I want to confirm to you and really request maybe the implementers of these projects to structure the program so that they can move faster, because these are less involving programs that can be implemented within the shortest time possible. Thank you very much.
Okay, Coach, CPA Coach, that was quite a long and a comprehensive response to that question. And one of the things that I learned from a former ICT authority CEO is that we already have fiber in Baringo, and the only thing that is remaining to do is to terminate to the respective points of consumption. And the other day I was in Eldama Ravine, and I was actually told the poster building in the Eldama Ravine already have fiber. So I think those are some of the things that the county government and in partnership with the county assembly should be doing to, or rather should consider to put up policies that can regulate or speed up the distribution of this internet across the county so that it benefits as many people as possible. And you know, at the moment we are everybody is working remotely, and internet is playing a key role. So internet is needed everywhere as an enabler of business operations, or rather doing business among the people of Baringo. So I think to you, Joshua Keitany, that was quite a concern that needed to be addressed. And Joshua, about a minute ago, you're saying answer to the question on the internet access needs to be revisited. I didn't get a specific answer. So maybe I've added some meat to what CPA Koech has just touched on. We have just a minute to conclude our show. We started a bit late, and we promised you, our viewers, that we would take 2 hours because it was quite an in-depth conversation. So maybe just to conclude, to you, Bwana Koech, you are clocking 7 months into the role that you have at the moment as the CEO to the County Assembly of Baringo. According to the independent body that is ZGG, who are with us here today, the County Assembly needs to improve and be creative in ensuring that the budget is properly implemented and prudence is felt among the people of Baringo. Where would you see, or rather in your tenure as the CEO for the County Assembly of Baringo, what can you promise the people of Baringo with regards to your role as the CEO of the Assembly of Baringo?
Thank you very much. Indeed, the County Assembly is geared towards running programs and activities that will enhance its mandate, especially the mandate on oversight. We have established a policy which we intend to ensure that it is approved in the next maybe 1 month. This is a policy that will enhance the activities of committees, the activities of individual members of the county assembly on oversight, and really to undertake their responsibilities more effectively and more efficiently as possible. We intend to up our game in all aspects of our mandate, especially representation and oversight. So I can only promise the people of Baringo that things will be getting better, and we are going to be more efficient, more effective in our work. We are going to professionalize and actually ensure that those serving in the county assembly, the officers, will also offer good advice to the members of the county assembly. They will also do their work more diligently and bring out the real issues that will be used to improve on every aspect of the county government. As I close, SK, I wanted to pass a message to the public, especially the Senate. Currently, there is a review of the formula for sharing revenue for county governments. This is the third generation formula, and we are going to benefit a lot as county.
Civilian oversight role. The assembly exercise public oversight, but we as civilians oversight, exercise civilian oversight. So my call to the people of Baringo: you must remain forever vigilant. You must seek to engage and partner with the government to ensure that we apply our resources effectively and lawfully. We need to pull together. More now than ever before, we need to pull together. Now more than ever before, we really need to engage the government and to ensure that we pick lessons from our past. Our experience is rich. Our county is very rich. Resources are quite immense. We cannot afford to sit in, in the fence and leave everything to the leadership. It's our duty, and that's the only way we can exercise our sovereignty. So Baringo, media, PACSOF, county assembly, county executive, we shall remain at it together moving forward to ensure that the principles of public finance management are fully applied. Thank you so much.
That has been a very productive conversation, and I would say this has been one of the most productive conversations that we've had as Baringo News, and looking at the budget making process. I think this could be the year that personally I've been highly involved in terms of understanding how the budget making process is done, or the entire process, how it is being done, how it is. Now we are going into implementation, and I think that is a journey that we would want to travel together as a people of Baringo. And clearly, Masese, you've said that we need to come together, have a concerted effort, bring our heads together. You recommended to the county assembly and the executive to ensure that they have maybe a rapid results kind of an initiative to ensure that we reduce the issue of rollover. And who really would want to hear about rollovers here in the next, or rather in the subsequent financial years? Nobody would want to hear that. And from us as Baringo News, we've helped the people of Baringo to listen to the opinions of the experts tonight. CPA Koech, who's a very senior person on issues accounting and finance. He has given his opinion, and also as a representative of the county assembly at the moment. We also have Paul Masese, who is the representative of ZGG, Center for Enhancing Good Governance, and of course democracy. So with all that opinion that has been given tonight from the experts, what do you think as a person of Baringo? We've been told that there is a lot of area to improve. We may not be learning as such, so it is a challenge for us to pull our socks and ensure that we participate in the budget making process. And also, as the Mwananchi, there is something, we call it social audit. Are you doing proper social audit as an individual? We elected the MCAs, and we are the people who are on the ground. So should we need to fold the leadership of the day. What role are we playing as the common mwananchi on the ground? Are we raising concerns that are affecting us? So let's participate together and own this process, as Paul Masese gave in his parting shot. And from Koech, definitely, he's saying that we expect better things to come. And that is a good commitment coming from the leadership of the day. So from us as Baringo News, we commit to continue to give you such conversations that will always help us to open up our minds, ranging from budget, issues that are affecting us directly, and it only happens here on the expert view. Until another time, I am your host, Omen SK. Thank you and have a good night.
Nimesimama katika maeneo mojawapo ambapo kuna barabara hii aina ya SS Road. Sehemu hii ni kati ya Kabarnet Town na Aina Moi Center. Sehemu hii inafahamika sana kwa aina hii ya barabara ambayo kwa kimombo wanasema ni section C51. Katika barabara hii utakuta kwamba ukitokea maeneo ya Kabarnet utafikia Iten na kisha kaunti ya Uasin Gishu, mji wa Eldoret. Katika barabara hii ni mojawapo ya sehemu ambapo kwa sasa ukiangalia upande huu imeandikwa viewpoint. Hapa ndipo baadhi ya abiria wanaosafiri kupita katika kaunti tofauti wanasimama na kupata mandhari hii. SS Road wenyeji wanasema. Naam, barabara aina hii inapatikana pia katika maeneo ya Kabarnet kuelekea Marigat na pia maeneo ya Eldama Ravine kuelekea Tenges. Ukizuru Baringo County, basi usikose kuthibitisha kuwa SS Road ipo na inapendwa na wengi.